My name is Margaret Hayes, and I died on a Tuesday morning in March 14 years ago. I was 58 years old. I was gone for 8 minutes. What I experienced in those 8 minutes, what I begged for, and the answer I received has never left me. Not for a moment. I'm telling you this now because silence has become unbearable. I lived an ordinary life. I was a librarian in a small town in upstate New York, married for 33 years to a man named Paul. We had one daughter, Emily. We lived in a two-story house with a garden I tended every spring. I baked pies on Sundays. I read before bed. I voted in every election. I recycled. I wasn't a bad person. I went to church when it was expected: Christmas, Easter, weddings, funerals. I knew the Lord's Prayer by heart. I believed in God the way most people do, distantly, politely, without much thought. I figured if there was a heaven, I'd probably get in. I hadn't killed anyone. I hadn't stolen anything. I was kind to most people. I thought that was enough. My mornings were quiet. I'd wake at 6, make coffee, sit by the window with a book while Paul got ready for work. We didn't talk much. Not out of anger, just habit. 33 years of marriage does that. You stop needing words. On that Tuesday, I woke up feeling strange, not sick exactly, just off. A heaviness in my chest. A tightness I couldn't place. I ignored it. I made coffee. I sat by the window. Paul kissed my forehead before he left. "See you tonight," he said. I nodded. I never saw him again. Not as the woman I was. The pain came an hour later. Sharp. Sudden. Like something inside me had torn. I stood up from my chair and felt my legs give out. I fell to the floor, my hand clutching my chest, my breath shallow and desperate. I tried to call out, but no sound came. I reached for my phone on the table, but my arm wouldn't move the way I wanted it to. My vision blurred, the room tilted, and then everything went silent. Not peaceful, just absent. I didn't feel my body anymore. I didn't feel the floor beneath me. I didn't feel pain. I felt nothing. And then I opened my eyes, and I was standing. I was in a hallway. Long. Narrow. The walls were a dull grey, smooth and featureless, stretching endlessly in both directions. There were no doors, no windows, no light source, but I could see everything clearly. The air, if you could call it air, felt heavy, stale, like it had been breathed 1,000 times and never refreshed. I looked down at my hands. They looked like my hands. I touched my face. I felt solid. Real. "Hello?" I called out. My voice didn't echo. It just stopped, swallowed by the stillness. I started walking. I don't know why. There was nothing ahead of me, nothing behind me, but standing still felt worse. So I walked. The hallway didn't change. Every step looked the same as the last. The walls, the floor, the silence, it all stayed exactly the same. I walked for what felt like hours. Maybe it was minutes. Time didn't work there. And then I heard it. A voice, not loud, not close, just there, behind me. "Margaret." I stopped. I turned around. There was a figure standing at the far end of the hallway, distant, unmoving. I couldn't make out a face, but I felt the weight of their gaze. "Who are you?" I asked. The figure didn't answer. They just stood there watching. I felt my chest tighten. Not with pain. With something else. Something deeper. Fear. "Where am I?" I asked, louder now. Still no answer. I turned away from the figure and started walking again, faster this time. My footsteps made no sound. The hallway stretched on, unchanging, infinite. And then, without warning, it ended. I stepped out into a vast, open space. It wasn't a room, it wasn't a field, it was just space, grey, dim, endless. The ground beneath my feet felt solid, but I couldn't see where it ended. The air was thick, oppressive, like standing in a fog that pressed against your skin. And I wasn't alone. There were people scattered across the space, dozens of them, maybe more. Some sitting, some standing, some kneeling. None of them were moving, none of them were speaking. They just were. I walked toward the nearest person, a woman, middle-aged. Her hands folded in her lap, her eyes staring at nothing. "Excuse me," I said. She didn't respond. She didn't even blink. I waved my hand in front of her face. Nothing. I felt panic rising in my chest. I moved to the next person. A man, older, his shoulders slumped, his face hollow. "Can you hear me?" I asked. Nothing. I walked through the crowd trying to get someone, anyone, to acknowledge me, but they were all the same, present but unreachable, alive but lifeless. And then I saw him, my father. He died when I was 22. Cancer. I hadn't been close to him. He was a quiet man, hard to know. But there he was, sitting on the ground, his back against nothing, his eyes vacant. "Dad?" I said, my voice breaking. He didn't look at me. I knelt in front of him. "Dad, it's me. It's Margaret." His eyes didn't move. His face didn't change. I reached out to touch his shoulder, and the moment my hand made contact, I felt it. Cold. Not the cold of winter, the cold of absence, the cold of something that should be warm but isn't, the cold of emptiness. I pulled my hand back, tears streaming down my face. "What is this place?" I whispered. "Separation." The voice came from behind me, quiet, steady, unmistakable. I turned around. He was standing there. Jesus. I knew it was him immediately. Not because he looked like the paintings in church. He didn't. He was plain, ordinary even. But his presence filled the space in a way that made everything else feel small. His eyes held mine, and I felt everything inside me collapse. "Where am I?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "You are seeing what comes after," he said. "This is where hearts that chose distance end up." I looked at the people around me, at my father, at the emptiness in their faces. "This is hell?" I whispered. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I felt my legs weaken. "But they're not burning. They're not—" "They are alone," he said. "Eternally, completely. This is the absence of me, the absence of love, the absence of hope. This is hell." I looked at him, desperate. But my father, he was a good man. He worked hard. He provided for us. He never sought me, Jesus said. He lived for himself. He never surrendered. And when he died, he had nothing but himself. And that is what he has now. I felt something break inside me. "And me?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Am I here too?" He looked at me for a long moment, and in that look I saw everything. Every lie I'd told myself, every compromise, every moment I'd chosen comfort over truth, every time I'd heard his name and felt something stir in my chest and turned away. "You were headed here," he said. The words were like stones. "No," I said, shaking my head. "No, I believed. I went to church. I prayed sometimes. I wasn't—" "You never gave me your heart," he said, and there was no anger in his voice, only truth. "You gave me words, rituals, Sundays, but you kept your life for yourself. You loved your comfort more than you loved me, and that is enough to bring you here." I fell to my knees, sobbing. "Please," I begged. "Please, I don't want to be here. I don't want this. Please let me leave. Please." He knelt beside me. "Do you truly want to leave?" he asked. "Yes," I said, desperate. "Yes, please, I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll—" "Do you want to leave because you love me, or because you fear this place?" The question stopped me cold. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. Because I knew the truth. I didn't love him. I didn't even know him. I just didn't want to be here. And he knew it too. "Fear is not repentance," he said quietly. "And I do not accept hearts that come to me only to escape consequence." I felt my chest tighten. "Then what do I do?" I whispered. "You choose," he said. "Not out of fear, but out of love, out of surrender, out of a willingness to give me everything, not just your desperation." He stood. "You are going back," he said. "But not because you begged, because I am giving you time, Time to understand what you are choosing. Time to decide if you truly want me or if you only want to avoid this. How will I know? I asked. You will know, he said, when your love for me becomes greater than your fear of this place. The space began to fade. The people, the grey, the cold. Wait, I said, my father, can he? He made his choice, Jesus said, and now it is finished. And then I was gone. I woke up in an ambulance, paramedics hovering over me, their voices urgent and distant. They told me I'd had a heart attack. They told me my neighbour had found me on the floor and called 911. They told me I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky. I felt terrified, because I knew the truth. I hadn't begged to leave hell because I loved Jesus. I'd begged because I was afraid. And he knew it. And he sent me back anyway. Not to comfort me, but to give me a chance to choose for real. I'm 62 now. 14 years have passed since that day. And I still think about it every single day. I think about my father, about the emptiness in his eyes, about the silence of that place, and I think about the question Jesus asked me. Do you want to leave because you love me, or because you fear this place? I've spent these 14 years trying to answer that question honestly. Some days I think I've found the answer. Other days I'm not sure, but I know this. Hell is real. And begging to leave isn't enough. You have to choose him, not out of fear, but out of love. And that's harder than you think. I wasn't sent back with comfort. I was sent back with a question I'm still trying to answer. And that question still terrifies me.